Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to try and decode the science of human connection. We're going to dig into the surprising reasons we fall in love, what makes some relationships last a lifetime, and how our brains are actually wired to connect with each other. So, let me just ask you this. Was your love life decided before you could even speak? I know, it sounds pretty wild, right? But a really famous psychology experiment suggests the answer is, believe it or not, yes. It turns out the blueprint for how you love might have been drawn up way back when you were a toddler. Let's see how they figured this out. So, it all started with this experiment called the Strange Situation Task. A psychologist named Mary Ainsworth designed it. Here's the setup. A parent and their toddler are in a room with some toys and a stranger. After a few minutes, the parent leaves, just for a little bit, and then they come back. And the whole point was just to watch. What does the kid do? And this is where it gets absolutely fascinating. The discovery was that these toddlers' reactions, how they handled that little separation, were a powerful, powerful predictor of how they would act in their romantic relationships decades later. It's like getting a sneak peek into their future love life. I mean, that's just a mind-blowing connection, right? So the researchers grouped these behaviors into four main categories, what they called attachment styles. You had secure kids who got upset when the parent left but were easily soothed when they came back. Then anxious avoiding kids who basically acted like they didn't care either way. Anxious ambivalent kids were super distressed and really hard to comfort. And finally, disorganized kids. Well, they just showed a confusing mix of behaviors. And these styles, they form a kind of emotional blueprint that we tend to carry with us into adulthood. But if you're starting to get a little worried, like, oh great, my toddler self doomed my love life, take a deep breath. Because here's the really good news. This blueprint is not set in stone. Not at all. And simply understanding your own pattern, that's the first huge step toward changing it. So what exactly is going on in our brains that even creates these patterns in the first place? Well, it's not like there's one little love button in your brain that just lights up. It's way more complex and frankly way more beautiful than that. A better way to think about it is that connection is like a song, a piece of music, played by three distinct neural circuits all working together in harmony. Our entire experience of connection really rests on these three systems. There's your internal emotional state, what we'll call your emotional seesaw. Then there's your ability to sync up with others, your empathy engine. And finally, there's a unique and kind of weird set of beliefs called positive delusions. Let's dive into that first one. Okay, circuit number one is your autonomic nervous system. This is the part of your brain that's on autopilot, controlling your heartbeat, your breathing, all the stuff you don't think about. And you can imagine it like an emotional seesaw, constantly tilting back and forth between states of high energy and excitement and states of deep calm and safety. Our experiences as kids literally teach us how to ride the seesaw. We learn how to get excited and playful, sure, but just as important, we learn how to calm ourselves back down. That ability to self-soothe is an absolute cornerstone of emotional health in our adult relationships. And look, this isn't just a theory. They actually studied this during the WWB bombings in London. Researchers found that a child's nervous system would directly mirror their parents'. If the mother was calm amidst the chaos, the child's body was calm. If she was panicked, the child was panicked. We learn how to manage our own internal seesaw by watching the people closest to us. And that idea of mirroring or syncing up, that's the perfect lead-in to our next two circuits. This is where the story stops being just about me and my internal state, and it starts being about us. We talk about empathy all the time, but scientifically, it's something really specific called autonomic matching. It's when your emotional seesaw starts to drive your partner's, and their seesaw starts to drive yours. Your nervous systems are literally getting in sync, like two instruments playing in tune. It's a real biological process. But for a stable, long-term bond, you need one more thing. And honestly, this one is a little bit irrational. It's a mental trick our brains play on us to keep us committed. I was pretty surprised when I first learned about this one, but the science is solid. It's that powerful internal belief that tells you only this person, this one person, can make me feel this way. It's called a positive delusion because, objectively, there are probably lots of people out there who could be a great match. But this belief, this story we tell ourselves, is absolutely essential for creating a strong, lasting bond. So if the seesaw, empathy, and positive delusion are the things that build connection, what's the virus that corrupts the code? Well, relationship researchers John and Julie Gottman spent decades figuring this out, and they identified 4 behaviors that are so destructive they can predict divorce with stunning accuracy. They call them the 4 horsemen. You've got criticism, which is attacking who your partner is as a person. Defensiveness is always playing the victim. Stonewalling is when you just shut down and refuse to engage. But the most toxic of all of them is contempt. It's been called the sulfuric acid of love because it's the direct opposite of everything it takes to build a real connection. So, knowing the code and its glitches is one thing, but can we actually do anything about it? Can we rewrite those patterns we might have learned as toddlers? The science is pretty clear on this. Absolutely yes. And it really comes down to 2 very powerful ideas: building shared stories together and a concept called self-expansion. You might have heard of that famous study about the 36 questions that can make strangers fall in love. The idea is really simple. 2 people ask each other a series of questions that get more and more personal as they go. So why does this actually work so well? I mean, it's not magic. As you answer these questions, you're doing something much more profound than just sharing facts about your life. You're co-creating a shared story. You are building a narrative together in real time. And as you do that, your emotional seesaws start to sync up. Your heart rates might even start to beat in a similar rhythm. You're literally bonding through the power of story. And then there's this other amazing tool called self-expansion. This is simply the feeling that your relationship makes you a better, more interesting person. And in one study, when couples focused on how their relationship helped them grow, it acted like a kind of love potion. It literally made them perceive other attractive people as less appealing. So let's bring it all home. The bottom line is this. First, identify your own attachment style. Just get to know your default pattern. Second, learn how your emotional seesaw works. Practice calming yourself and practice syncing up with your partner. And third, actively build positive stories together. Create those shared narratives and reinforce that feeling of self-expansion. In the end, your attachment style isn't your destiny. It's just your starting point. It's the first draft. Now that you know the science behind the code, the real question is, what story will you choose to tell? Thanks for joining us for this explainer.